Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by a singer, songwriter, and bassist. You've heard her with Detroit Diesel Power, Scarlet Fever, CeeLo Green, and Cowboy Mouth. Her first solo album is High Rollin'. We welcome Regina Zernay.
Hi. Hello, Sean. Nice to be here.
Regina, let's go beyond the mic. Music has always been a part of your life. What does it mean for you putting out your first solo album?
It's really scary. I've always had friends to hide behind and a band to hide behind. And I never had the nerve to do it. It was because of my friends and my husband that I finally worked up the nerve or the courage. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the world to hear it. I put it out on my own website, reginazernay.com. It is a little like starting over, but I just am so excited. I don't know how else to describe it. Rarely do you get the opportunity to say, okay, I'm just going to do this thing and let the world hear it. I want the world to hear what it is that matters to me. I love rock and roll. And this is really like a modern take on classic rock and roll and, a female fronted rock and roll. So you can hear the influences of some of my heroes, Joan Jett, Pat Benatar, Heart, and then some of my male heroes too, like Led Zeppelin and Soundgarden. And I just want to inspire other people to look at it and say, okay, this is a regular person who really loves music. I'm a regular person who really loves music. If she can do it, I can do it. And that's maybe the biggest thing that I want to get across. It's possible. And if you want it, go get it.
Now, this was almost a Detroit Diesel Power project. Why do you love music so much that it was enough to let your band kick you to the front by yourself?
It was a little bit of an accident. The pandemic hit. My band wasn't available. There weren't shows available. Everything was shut down. And I didn't know what to do. I thought, oh my God, I could lay down and die and just never play music again. Just give it up. Maybe it's time to do that. And then I also thought, well, I can't. It's in my blood. It's like breathing. And I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'll start writing this new record and it'll be the next Detroit Diesel Power record. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Without the input of other band members and without any real rules, I thought, well, I'm going to have everybody that I can get my hands on play on this, that, if I know them or not, if I've ever wanted to work with them, that's what I'll do. And it evolved and was something different. At the end of it all, my husband, who was in Detroit Diesel Power with me, he's the reason I put the band together, Detroit Diesel Power, that is. He said, this is your solo record and really you should release it as a solo record. And I thought, I don't know how I feel about that. And then I asked my friends, I said, what do you guys think? And they were all very encouraging. They said, go for it. And so as a result of that, I said, okay, let's do it.
You're left-handed and yet you play the bass right-handed. How did your love of music evolve from being a noble at Nogales High School to where you are now?
How do you know all that? That's amazing.
I do my homework.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, I had an uncle who was also left-handed but played right-handed, and I borrowed his guitar for a year when I wanted to do this, and God bless him for letting me do that. And he, like I said, he was left-handed but he played right-handed, so that's what I learned on. And I think it's been good for me to do it that way, just because it's very unusual to find the left-handed guitar or bass. And so again, I always loved music and I wanted to do it and I didn't know what to do. So when you love something and you say, I really want to do this, especially as a child, you just start grabbing all the tools that are available wherever they may be and you go for it. I think that the love of music was something that was born into me and it's helped. You're not always going to get everything you want immediately when you're playing music. You're going to have sore fingers. You're not going to find a band. I could list the obstacles for an hour. But if you love it, you don't care. Nothing's going to stop you. So I think that just having that sort of born into you, it will guide you. And just don't let it go, because if you do, this is the thing. I guess I want to share this with you and your audience as well, because I'm hoping there are musicians out there who are, listening and I want to inspire them to play. That matters to me more than anything. When you reach those obstacles, just don't worry about it, because that's just part of the path you're taking. There's no such thing as a smooth road, not 100% of the way, not over a lifetime. So don't let that discourage you. And I think that when I told myself that, when I said, you know what, just admit it, you love doing this, then you won't give up. Giving up, then it's definitely a loss. But if you never give up, you still got a shot.
Were you tempted to leave high school early so you could head out into the world and on the road?
Yeah, probably every day. When you feel like you don't fit in and you're not surrounded by 100% musicians and you just feel like such an outsider, you don't know where you belong or where you fit. And you want to run away and you want to pursue the thing that you love the most. But my parents, they came from other countries. My dad was born in Poland. He was much older than my mom. He's a World War II survivor. My mom's from the Philippines. She came over here for a better life. And to them, they have seen, my father witnessed firsthand devastation from a war. My mother lived in a country where no matter how hard you worked, sometimes you just really couldn't get ahead. And here they had a fear that if I pursued music, that I'd be starving on the street. So to them, it was like, oh, go to school. You have to have a proper job. Go be a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse. So leaving high school and running off and doing that, it gave my parents a heart attack. So it wasn't really like on the table. But did I want to? Oh, yeah.
Quote, are you well enough to ride and tough enough to win? Then step right up and see what you bring, unquote. What makes Ladies' Night in L.A. the perfect song for a girl in La La Land who was actually born in New York?
Well, you know what? I think New York, Los Angeles, they're big cities, lots of opportunities, lots of competition. And I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be rude or upset anybody, but I am an older lady. And I grew up in a time where women were still trying to become equal. And there's still a struggle with that. And so I think that it was an illusion. It was an illusion that was given to us as women, that you can't have enough. There's not enough to go around. You as a woman, your success is dependent on marrying up and marrying somebody who will take care of you. That's not how it is anymore. And I think that we have to acknowledge the fact that it's competitive in major cities like Los Angeles. So you have to be prepared for it. You got to be tough and you got to fight for what you earn, and you got to fight to keep it. But I also think that we do better together. There's strength in numbers. And the song is meant to empower women and say, yes, just because you're a girl, that doesn't mean you can't do it. In fact, it's all there for everybody, regardless of your gender, regardless of your sexual orientation, all that. Set it aside. It's there and it's available, especially in a big city. But also remember there's strength in numbers, and we should be sticking together, and we can get out there and have it all and do it together. We'll do better if we do. So it's empowering. It's meant to be empowering, and it's also meant to be about girl power. You know, how can we get ahead by ourselves, and also how we can help each other do it.
Regina Zernay's first solo album is High Rolling, and Regina, it's time for the Rocking 8. 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. There's no pressure. First song you learned the bass fingering to?
It was an REM song, and I can't remember which one.
Who was your dream collaboration with?
John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin. And Michael Beinhorn, because he was on the record, and he's a producer of Soundgarden, Super Unknown. Love that record.
First bass was what? And you still have it?
Oh, I got a court bass, and it got stolen.
No! Oh. You donate proceeds from download sales of Rule Breaker to the New Life Animal Sanctuary. I want to know what your favorite animal is.
Kitty cats.
She loves the cats.
Yes.
Best thing your mom, Francesca, ever taught you?
My mom always says, push the tree where you want it to land.
Why?
Because if you have a goal and you push the tree in the direction you want it to go in, you're increasing the chances of it happening. And I've used that advice over and over again. And she's not wrong.
One thing you depend on your husband Darren to do?
So much. You know, I depend on him to hold my hand when we're walking down the street.
That's so romantic.
Oh my God, is that too cheeseball? I'm sorry, it's the truth. Take some extra cheese with that burger.
You've played Wembley and Madison Square Garden. Where is your dream place to play?
I want to get back on Saturday Night Live again.
How did that feel to play with CeeLo on Saturday Night Live when the camera's focus was on you sometimes?
The focus part's weird.
Why?
Because they're haters and they're so mean, and that's scary. But it's what we're doing when we're making music is imaginary. It doesn't exist. You can't touch it. The moment that you play it, it exists in that moment and then it disappears. We can record it, but still the moment that you've done it, the very first time, it's a moment in time that disappears. So it's fragile and you're putting yourself out there when you do it. When somebody criticizes you for it or says it's not good enough, I mean, this is you opening yourself up and making magic out of thin air and somebody says it sucks. That's hard to hear and hard to come back from. And it's scary because those opinions can determine whether or not you get to continue to play in front of large audiences. It took that experience for me to understand, no, there is a shelf life for that level of attention and fame. So everyone's going to be critical. Once you have that, you can't get away from it. You're never going to be good enough to avoid the criticism. There's going to be 10% of the people at least who just plain hate what you're doing and they feel like they have to make noise about it. And so instead of worrying about it, which I wish I'd known at the time, but you learn this through experience, you just get scared of it because you're afraid it's going to kill your career. And it could, I guess, but is your career the outside world or is your career doing it because you love it? And I think you have to love it. But if you love it and you're doing it for yourself, they'll never be able to take it away from you. But I didn't know that at the time. So there was a lot of fear and anxiety related to that. And what's the next horrible thing that someone's going to say about me? But the experience itself, when we were there, one thing I noticed about the cast, nearly all of them, they'd see you and they say, "Oh my God, you're on Saturday Night Live. Isn't this great?" I remember Fred Armisen like coming up to me and saying, "Hey, you're on Saturday Night Live. Isn't it great?" He was just getting ready to go on stage. I was like, "Oh my God, yes." And you're Fred Armisen. And he's like, "I'm a drummer." I'm like, "Dude, do you need a bass player?" He was so like encouraging. And I love the fact that they knew to say that, or they made a point to say that to people who were playing, because, how do I say this? When you're in the moment, it's very easy not to enjoy the moment. And them doing that, it was like a reminder, remember where you're at, enjoy this experience, grab it with both hands and experience it. Don't let the anxiety interfere with you actually enjoying what's happening here.
Sunrises or sunsets?
Sunrises.
It's time for the back half with Regina Zernay. Her incredible first solo album is High Rolling, and she joins us beyond the mic. Quote, "It has been said that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. However, in the new world of music copyright infringement, imitation may be the most expensive compliment a songwriter can give," unquote. What are your future fears as a songwriter with AI music developing?
AI music. This is interesting. What I've observed, having like done very, very little with it, it's just very soulless. And in a way, I was kind of relieved to see that this lack of anything meaningful that's been said. It's just a bunch of words that seem to be associated with the topic, and some of them rhyme. And I think that it's missing the heart, the message, the experience. If you're opening your mouth and you're saying something, it's usually because you're warning other people, you're expressing something, some sort of like frustration. You've had an experience that is resulting in reaction. Opening your mouth and speaking, writing a song, these are reactions to something. AI is not reacting to anything except input. And okay, expand on this topic. This is information. Make it all rhyme together. Those are all that we're saying. Maybe at some point in the future, you can reach out to AI and say, okay, if a person has experienced X, Y, and Z, what is their likely reaction, and make it rhyme? Okay, maybe that will give you a decent prompt or some information. But again, this is past experience of other people. What's your experience right now today as a person who didn't exist, until the moment of your birth, and you have millions and millions of moments that lead up to this one now? You can't feed those millions and millions of moments into AI and have it spit out a genuine reaction, because it can't factor all that in. Maybe it can, but at that point, I don't know. We're so far away from that. I just think that the absent emotion, you won't have a genuine reaction, and AI at this point can't experience emotion.
When you're out on tour, you must bring this one thing. What is it?
My bass.
What's the comfort item?
Gosh, I don't think I'm attached to much. I think everybody's attached to their phones, but maybe my makeup kit. I have back issues. I've had them since I was in my 20s. Maybe it's because the instruments are kind of heavy. I don't sleep with pillows. In fact, if I get to a hotel room and I see a bunch of pillows, I immediately put them on a couch or something like that. It'll wreck me.
No pillows at all?
None. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I suffer very badly if I have a pillow. I don't know how it is for other people. Some people say that if they don't have a pillow, my husband's like that. If he doesn't have a pillow, that's going to twist up his back. So I don't know how it is for you. It sounds like your wife needs to have a pillow also, but yeah.
My wife needs to be like in a pillow fort, 8 pillows surrounding her. She also says I'm hot and she doesn't want me touching her.
This is a man's sport, or it has been a man's sport for the longest time. So in a way, just to prove that I was equal, I got this like mentality, like I have to prove that I don't need anything. I can get out there and play anytime, any place. So maybe that's like a carryover from when I first started playing, and this expectation that just because I'm a girl, that doesn't mean that I need extra coddling or anything like that. So maybe that's the reason why I don't have like a comfort item like that. I don't want anyone to know I have like like a soft underbelly.
You're a musician and a lawyer. How do they work together?
Yeah, I think the thing that they have in common is the writing. We do a lot of writing as attorneys. And for me, I love songwriting. I had like an epiphany when I was first starting out as a songwriter or first trying to write songs. I was still like just a regular secretary. I wasn't a lawyer. I'd given up on those dreams. And you write a lot of letters as a secretary when you're doing admin. And I thought, isn't writing a song sort of just stacking a bunch of things on? You have the lyrics, that's letter writing with rhymes. And then you have the drum track, the bass track, the guitar track. And in a way, every single instrument is speaking. So if you think of it that way, I don't know, for some reason it made it a little less intimidating to write songs. You're just writing, you're writing something with the drums, you're saying something with the drums, you're saying something with your bass, you're saying something with the guitar, and then you're saying something with the lyrics. Imagine writing 4 letters and just stacking them on top of each other. When I sort of compartmentalized the process that way, it seemed less daunting, and I was actually able to speed up my writing. Like, what's the big deal? Just write it and then move on to your next song.
How has your songwriting changed from when you first started?
In a lot of ways, it's similar to what I learned as a bass player. The more that you play bass, the more tricks you collect, riffs, licks, certain patterns, little techniques. Same with songwriting. You pick up things, you observe things from other songwriters that you may not have thought about or recognized before, and you just collect more in your bag of tricks, and then you expand on it. So I'd say more depth, and also more courage to break the rules. I was told once a very long time ago that pop songs have a structure. It's an intro with a hook, then you've got a verse, a chorus, maybe the hook comes in, then you do second verse. Chorus usually repeats over and over again. And then there's a bridge or a breakdown, there's a guitar solo, then maybe your last verse and your last chorus, and then an outro. So I wrote within that structure, but started to break those rules and try different things. And some of our favorite artists, like Can't Buy Me Love, that's a good example of breaking the rules. Can't Buy Me Love starts with the chorus, right? And when you have been writing for a while, you start to get braver and break some of the rules and see if you can twist things up, because that makes it more like ear candy. Everyone likes a pleasant surprise. So I think that's what's happened with my songwriting over time.
Why has breaking rules helped you love music more?
You get sort of used to things. It starts to get boring, and as a listener. And I think that when you throw in a surprise, or when someone's thrown in a musical surprise, that's going to catch your attention. I'm trying to think of a couple of people. I want to say it was 9 Inch Nails. I remember driving down the street and listening to a 9 Inch Nails song, and they'd done something where they said the same thing over and over again. Usually you say the same thing over and over again, maybe 4 times, maybe 8 times, but they just kept repeating it over and over again. The music built underneath it, but the lyrics didn't change. And that immediately caught my attention. There it is. It's a broken rule. It's ear candy as a result. It's like, oh, this song that seemed to be going along, it's a 9 Inch Nail song. it transcended just being part of the Nine Inch Nails catalog, and it became uh, something new. Like it gave me a realization, which is kind of what I think a listener wants. You're realizing something, you're experiencing something, and I love that, and I like to try and do that. The Smashing Pumpkins also, some of the stuff that they did earlier on, where they would extend things out, just completely change what was going on musically and build it up into something new. I think Jesus of Suburbia by Green Day, that's another one where it's magnificent. Like you hear it and you think, I wish I'd thought of that. I wish I had the courage to do that. And they just completely break all of the rules. Bohemian Rhapsody. We've heard it so many times for so long, but think about the very first time that you heard it, and the breakdown in the middle, and Scaramouche, and do the fandango, and then suddenly you've got the rocking part. It was so different. It's so clear that they decided not to follow the rules and do something unusual. I love that as a listener.
Who's the person that taught you the most in songwriting?
Oh gosh. I don't think that I can pick one single person. I can remember certain things that people told me, like what I'd said earlier, the person who had told me about songwriting structure. So I guess I could fill in that story a little bit. When you're trying to get attention, you're obviously networking, and you're using all of the things you know how to do to put you in the places where you're going to be meeting people who are doing the things you want to do in the future. So for me, I was finishing undergrad, and it was information systems. I'm a computer nerd, and I had friends who were just like acquaintances who were working at Sony and Columbia Records. And I let them know, hey, I'm about to finish undergrad. I really am looking for internships. And one of my friends said, oh, I'm the one who selects the interns here at Columbia Records. Are you interested? And I said, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I sure am. Yeah. So I ended up doing an internship with him and with others. And one of the people that I met there, he was the one who said, okay, Regina, I know you're a bass player. Are you interested in maybe playing on some of these demos? And I said, yes. And I brought in my bass, and he started to talk to me about songwriting. And I was just beginning as a songwriter at that time. And that he was the one who said, this is the typical pop song structure. And that was priceless information. I had worked with someone in a band a long, long time ago called Big Violin, and the lead singer or guitar player, he was a wonderful songwriter, and he'd been doing it for a very long time. And he was the one who said, when you're writing bass lines and just playing music, that is a little bit crass. He said, sometimes you have to go to the deep end of the pool, grab your cojones, and jump in. And that was the first time I had learned, okay, yeah, you got to be a little bit brave to do this. You're going to be taking a leap, an intellectual leap when you write a song. Because it's one thing if you sit down, the song's already written, and you got to learn the bass lines. So you're listening really closely. You're trying to pick and choose where it is that you can play stuff. You want to get as close to the original as possible. You'll never get it exactly right. Okay. But it's sort of written. It exists already. When you're writing a song, you got to make it a leap. You have a concept in mind, whether it's a riff that you want to write around, or a chorus that you have clearly in your mind. Like a lot of the songs that I wrote on this new record, on High Rolling, I had a little pedal that's got built-in drums, and I just pick a drum beat and start playing around it until I found a bass riff that I liked, and then just built the song around it. So Rule Breaker, that's one of the songs. Vengeance is another song that I had done that with. But then there are some other songs that you have the chorus like really clear in mind. It comes to you. Fight. The chorus for Fight, it just came to me. I don't know if I was like half awake, but it was just very clear. And it was about actually being a lawyer. You're always fighting. You're fighting for your clients, and you're taking one for the team, taking the punch and getting back up again. It's about getting back up when you're fighting for somebody else, even when you're like, oh my God, I can't get up again. I don't want to get knocked down again, but you have to. So I guess for Fight, some of these things just come fully formed. But songwriting can take, all different, it can happen all different ways. And the people who taught me how to write songs, they gave me rules, and they also gave me the courage to break them.
Let's go deeper with Regina Zernay beyond the mic. Who fights for you?
My husband. My husband fights for me all the time. And it's, I don't like to have anyone fighting for me. I want to be able to fight my own battles. But sometimes there are people in the world who just don't want to hear it from a girl. I don't know why. They just don't. And sometimes he's got to be the one to step in and say, okay, she's told you where she's at with this. You're not accepting what she said. So I'll tell you. And for some reason, that's what it takes to get some people to stop. I had somebody I knew who wanted to cover one of the songs that I'd written. And I said, I don't want you to, please don't. No, we haven't released it. And he was absolutely insistent and became like very abusive and aggressive in saying so.
What?
Yeah. I was like, dude, why? Why you're a great songwriter. Go write your own song. Why are you trying to do this? And he was just insistent. But Darren was the one who actually finally had to say, look, stop. She said no. And that's when he finally backed off. So, it stinks when situations like that come up. And it stinks that sometimes you're not going to be heard. And it requires your husband to step in. But when that has happened, he's been there for me.
Why is your husband so special to you musically, and how has he changed since you've been together?
He loves music. He has a huge collection. He's always looking out for new music, and he's super open-minded. That's unusual, in my opinion. I think that even myself, I'm guilty of this. There's an age in your life, much like learning a language, where your brain is maybe more elastic. And you're more open to hearing new music and connecting what you're hearing to what you're experiencing. And then after a certain age, I think people generally tend to not want to hear new music. They've got their catalog in their brain, they've got their memories, they're good. And then there are some people who just always are seeking out new music. They're rare. Darren's one of them. So I fell in love with his music collection too, and he's got great taste. He had messed around or played around with guitar before we met, but he'd never been in a band before. And when I was still touring, he actually read me the Riot Act after we got married. Maybe I shared this with you already, but he said, you're out and you're touring. I'm here. I'm by myself. This is kind of not what I signed up for. So for a few different reasons, touring stopped for me, and I came back home and I said, I won't stop playing music, but I understand you don't want me to tour without you. So strap on your guitar. I'm building a band around you. And that's how I created Detroit Diesel Power. He is from Detroit, or he spent some time growing up in Detroit. And when I was still touring with Cowboy Mouth, there was a little gauge on the tour bus, like the dashboard, that said Detroit Diesel. I believe that they created the diesel engine that fueled this tour bus and others. So I thought, wow, you're from Detroit, Darren. This is like going to be an all-American rock and roll band, punk rock band. And I really respect the grit. This Detroit is sort of like one of the hearts of this country, the MC5, Iggy Pop, the Stooges, Detroit Steel, it's Motor City, right? So I thought, well, let's call the band Detroit Diesel Power in honor of your childhood there, and also the fact that it kind of like captures the heart of what it is that I'm trying to do with this band. And he stepped up to the plate. We did Detroit Diesel Power for a decade, even though he had never been in a band before, and tolerated me explaining songs and trying to teach him how to like play some of the stuff. Some of the stuff is really complicated, but he grabbed it with both hands and handled it. He's amazing. And even now, we're doing a Detroit Diesel Power reunion show tomorrow at the Viper Room, and he continues to grow as a musician. And I feel a combination of things. I feel very like excited and proud of how much he's grown. And I also feel as though I've been in the way. He is growing so fast, and I have a hard time teaching and explaining. I'm not a patient person. So I want him to continue to. In fact, I've said, I know this is a solo record, and you've kind of like given me the green light to do a solo record, but that doesn't mean I want Darren to stop playing. And I've been encouraging him to play out, and it looks like he's going to. So that's going to be some great music.
Regina, what's the song that almost didn't make High Rolling, and why?
Heavy Hitter.
What?
Which it was tough because that breakdown section, that jazzy breakdown section, there was nothing over it. There were no lyrics, and it just felt like it dropped too much for me. And I actually talked with Patrick Burkholder. That's one of the few songs that was like not completely done, in my opinion, when we were working on it in the studio together. And I knew I was going to be presenting it to Michael Beinhorn to listen to it. I know that you and I talked about Michael and how, working with one of your heroes, and he was slowly looking at one song to the next, giving us mix input and additional advice. God bless him for it. So, I thought, okay, this song is supposed to be about people fighting, boxers, these athletes who are engaged in physical combat, the mixed martial artists. It's, or at least that was kind of the type of fighting I wanted to capture in that song. When you're fighting, and you're getting bloodied up, you're really like fighting like hard. We fight a little bit in life, you negotiate when you buy, like, if you decided to buy a guitar through Facebook Marketplace, you meet up and you do a little bit of like soft negotiating, and that's fine. As a lawyer, we do some negotiating when we're trying to settle cases. That's like a little bit more like an intense negotiation. And then there's the kind of negotiation where nobody's talking and it's like fists are up. And that's what Heavy Hitter was supposed to be about. But I felt like I wasn't conveying that enough. And I thought, okay, what can I do with this jazz section? And I thought, oh, well, how I picture it is like a fight where you've got the girl holding up the sign, and then you've got two fighters in the corner. Yeah, exactly. I thought, how do I get that across? And I talked to a friend of mine, Ruben. Now, he was the sound guy for Cowboy Mouth when we were still touring, and we stayed in touch. And we were talking about some people that he knows. He does some work with the baseball team out in Tampa. And I thought, well, maybe we could do somebody like one of the announcers. And I said, Ruben, you've got a great voice. Why don't you just do it? And then same deal. I said, you're in Florida, I'm here in California. Just get it recorded, even if it sounds a little like lo-fi. That's fine for what it is that we're doing. And I had him record that part and dropped it in, and that's when it all came together. So it was very close. It was very close not putting it on the record, and that's the thing that sent it over the top for me.
What do you want people to take away from High Rolling?
I want a few things. I'm greedy. I want more than anything for everyone to hear it, and if they've ever felt like they're tired of fighting, or they're out there and they want to rebel against this, or they just need like a way to shout out about, oh my God, I'm fighting. How am I going to get up again? I want this record to be a reminder that, you know what? You're not alone. Yeah, you're fighting. Yeah, you can get back up and just hang in there because you've got this. I also wanted to inspire other musicians like myself, who are not sure what to do. Everything's topsy-turvy now. There's no such thing as you're going to get a record deal and you're going to be hugely famous. I think that exists to a little bit still, but not the way it did before. I don't know, maybe like in the 80s or even the 90s, where a record label will come along, cut you a check, you go into the studio, you got this advance, they're doing like videos and they're sending you out on tour. That's like not so common anymore. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't, I don't know. So what is it that you're supposed to do? You love music and you want to play music? Well, there's a remote revolution that's happening right before our eyes. And it's possible to create a record remotely and have it be like a quality record, something that you're proud of. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, you slaved and you sweated over it and you played like the worst rinky dink like solos because you don't know how to do it. No, there are people out there who can help you with that, even if they're not next door, and you can do it all remotely. So I want to inspire people and let them know that you can do this. You don't have to be like incredibly like, I'm just a regular person. I'm average. And I did it. If I can do it, I want people to say, well, she could do it. I could do it. So, to be honest with you, if your audience, I think you and I talked about this before, but I really mean it. I want people to get on the website. It's easy. It's reginazernay.com. I want people to hear what it sounds like if you do this remotely. And if you get to work with some amazing people who are out there, like a Michael Beinhorn, who's like a legend, And I also, I have my contact info up there. If somebody was like, I'm really interested in doing it, I don't know, how do I get started? Or I'm stuck on this step. I just want them to reach out to me so that I can tell them all about it. It'd be amazing. And I'm also like interested in working with people. I'm always looking for extra musicians. I love having guest musicians on the shows. I love, doing additional recordings. So if anyone's interested, I'm here. Just send me a message at reginazernay.com. I'll get back to you.
Why is it important in giving back, especially to female musicians?
I think that we all get kept down, that female musicians, all musicians. I don't know why that is. There's something that goes on in society where you're punished for wanting to be an artist. And it hurts me to see it because I think music is essential. And I think that there's strength in numbers. So if we get together and we help each other, we can all go further faster. And I really didn't do that enough when the spotlight was on me, when I was, touring with Cowboy Mouth, when I was getting all the attention as part of CeeLo Green's band. I didn't understand it yet. I knew something was missing, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And over time, I've realized that's what it is. You take that spotlight and you shine it on the things that matter. So other musicians, other people who need a leg up, important things like causes, fundraisers, charity. People out there are doing great work, but nobody knows it and they need help and we can offer that help to them. That's the most satisfying thing I get out of music these days, and maybe all along. It was a good day, the day that I realized, oh, that's the thing that's been missing.
Regina, what was your darkest day and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. Had a very bad show. Had a very, very bad show. A lot of things happened leading up to the show, and then the show itself went very badly. And it happened in front of a lot of people. It was a big show. And I couldn't believe it. Up until that point, most of my life as a musician had been, everything just fell into place. It felt very natural. I said, this is the thing I want to do. And things just, opportunity after opportunity. To me, it doesn't have to be like Saturday Night Live to be a great opportunity. Just playing with people you love, having a great rehearsal, even if it's just 4 people in a room and nobody hears it except the 4 of you. That to me is a great opportunity. So I'd had years of people helping me and doing nice things. Very rarely did I have bad experiences. They were there. It wasn't always easy, but it was still, for the most part, in large part, really like good. But then this happened. And it was in spite of everything that I had done to prevent a bad show from happening. You can try really hard. Sometimes life has signposts. There are things that are going to happen in your life. You can't get away from it. And this was something that was supposed to happen to me. And it sucked so bad. I remember lying on the living room floor, staring at the ceiling and asking Darren, did that really just happen? And Darren is wonderful because when I was like getting a ton of attention, he was like, whatever. And when I was getting, beaten up on verbally badly, he was like, whatever. Give me their number. I'm happy to like give them an earful. And I'd say, no, it's okay. I'll fight my own battles. But short of him saying that, he has always just been exactly supportive. He never like made me feel like he stopped loving me if I had a bad day. So that was one thing that helped me get through it. But overall, it took a long time to get over it because of the backlash, the criticism. And then you start to really question yourself. Everyone's saying you're not good enough. You don't deserve the attention that you're getting. We think you suck. It takes a long time. That people toss that stuff out because they forget that there's a human being on the receiving end of it, or they just don't care that it's a human being on the receiving end of it. And they're getting their jollies by being mean, which is a shame. But I think what I ultimately had to do was say, okay, why is it that I do this? Is it because I want everybody's approval? Is that really the main reason? No, it's not. It took a while to get to that point because I did ask myself, do I just want to give this up and just walk away from it? But some of what I do, in fact, a lot of what I do has nothing to do with the applause. I want that. It matters, but it's not always going to be there. And it wasn't there when I started, and it wasn't there for many, many, many years as I was coming up and fighting to get better opportunities or to do it full time for the time that I did it solely as my source of income. So, when I finally said, okay, nothing's going to stop me, even the harshest and meanest stuff that I've ever heard, that that's when I truly started to feel like I got over it. But it took a long time.
So, since you talked about your worst day, what was your best day?
Hmm. Uh, you know, I think, yeah, this is a toss up. I think, um, well, Saturday Night Live was a huge highlight. Just the whole experience of it, and just having people like say stuff. I don't know if we talked about this when we talked yesterday. Okay. Yes. So that was a huge experience. And then Madison Square Garden. It's an interesting day. We done Saturday Night Live, and then Prince was doing residency at Madison Square Garden. He reached out to CeeLo and said, "Why don't you guys open for me at Madison Square Garden for one of the shows?" We get there before we arrive for sound check. CeeLo has taken us to a few stores so we can pick out an outfit. He got us all these white suits. I got a big white hat. It was like fun. We get to Madison Square Garden to do our sound check, and we have been invited to use the equipment of Prince's musicians so that there's a shorter turnover between our set and theirs. As we're walking down the long hall, because you take this long hall that leads you to the stage area, there's Prince. And he's not very tall. And I'm not very tall. I'm like just barely 5'4", like 5'3.5". And he's shorter than me. Maybe he's like right about here. And he's actually wearing heels. Like he had these heels on. So we walk up, it's me and the drummer, and he looks, and I look at him, I give him a big smile, and I'm funny looking, right? And he's just like, I was like, wow, Prince just dissed me. Great. He gave the drummer a big hug. I don't know if maybe he knew her or he thought he knew her. She spoke with him very briefly. I didn't say much because I was too starstruck. And then off we go. So we walk down the rest of the hallway. We get to the area. So the stage is set up to be like his symbol. And the drums and most of the like the keyboards, and I think maybe like all of the amps, I can't remember. It's all like sort of in the center of the circle. And then there's another circle around, and that's where the stage really is. And then the stage has a long walkway to the end of the symbol, and there's a grand piano at the end. We are getting ready to do our sound check. I've got my bass on. His bass player has kindly lent me her wireless, and she's superb. What an incredible bass player she is. Ida, I think it's Ida Nielsen. She's incredible. Anyway, so she was very kind to have let me use her stuff. And I'm kind of ready to go. The drummer's ready to go. Everybody else is still getting stuff together. So the drummer and I start to play a little bit. I'm playing one of the songs, and I suddenly hear like piano playing along with us. And I don't think our keyboard player is ready yet. And I'm looking around, who's playing? And I look, it's Prince at the end of the symbol, and he's at the grand piano playing along. And he sees me, like he notices that I've caught him doing this, and he did some weird thing, like he kind of jumped up, kind of like, and then ran away.
Really?
So I was like, whoa, I just played with Prince for a brief few seconds in time. He did his show, and it was incredible. Well, we did our show. That was like a huge highlight, just because it felt great. It felt great being up there. It was an incredible experience. It's just like, you play a show, you're at a venue, and just like, okay, I meant to hit those notes. I played everything I meant to play. I didn't trip and fall on my face this time. It was good. I felt good about how the show went. Then Prince does his show. We're like next to it. And it was just such an incredible experience. It turned me into even more of a Prince fan. I'd appreciated him. I became like a true fan at that point. He's doing Purple Rain. They're waving like a flag. I'm crying. It was just an incredible experience, an incredible show. Then afterward, we get invited out to his after show. He would do this, like he'd play a major show, then he'd do a small club show, and we got to see him maybe from like 15, 20 feet away. But the weird thing was he walked over to his bass player, grabbed her bass, and then he started playing. And he's literally like I said, 15 feet away from me, maybe 20 feet away, right in front of me, playing this bass and just smoking it, just killing it. And I'm like sitting there going, I thought I had a good show just a few hours ago. And then there's this guy who doesn't even play bass primarily. And I thought, I talked to CeeLo the next day, and I said, CeeLo, this happened. I don't know. We had this great show. I had a great time. And then Prince just totally blew me off the stage with his killer bass playing. And CeeLo said, he's giving you an experience, something to remember. And don't be down about the fact that you're where you're at right now. It's the journey. You know, you're going someplace with your playing and you'll get there, but it's the experience as you're getting there, the journey. That's what you're here for. And he's given you an experience, and this is all an experience. Don't be down on yourself about what you wish you could be doing now. Enjoy the journey for what it is at this moment. So those are probably the two biggest highlights for me as a player.
Regina, what's your best memory of Patrick Butler Jones?
Oh, I see. You're going to make me cry about this.
That's what Beyond the Mic's all about.
I think we were sitting at the table. We were hard drinkers at the time. And we'd play upstairs in the rehearsal room we have here at the house. And we'd go downstairs and we'd get a bottle of Stolichnaya. And we'd just keep doing shots. And I remember him sitting there, and we were using sake shot glasses for it. And we had all had shots, and he took his shot glass after 2 or 3, and he pounded it on the table, and he pointed at me, and he said, pour me another shot. And I thought, God dang it, do I look like a waitress? What the hell? Am I your mother? I remember being really mad about it. And I have to say that that's probably my best memory. Being so mad about it at the time and still pouring him a shot, bossing me around, but that was what we were doing. Just being wild and free, you know.
But you wish you could pour one shot for him right now.
Yeah. Whole bottle. Yeah.
It's time for the impossible question with Regina Zernay, Beyond the Mic. Regina, if you could go back and tell your 17-year-old self one thing that would make you better, what would you tell her?
Start singing and writing songs right now. And I know you don't think you're ever going to fall in love, but hang out. There's somebody out there. Just hang out. He's out there and he's waiting for you.
Her success isn't an illusion. It's reality. Her solo album is high rolling. Regina Zernay, where can people find you online?
reginazernay.com. You can check out the songs if you want to hear what it sounds like when you do remote recording. There are samples up there. So it's Regina, ZERNAY.com. Z for Zernay. So, yeah.
Regina, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Sean, you're wonderful. I enjoyed myself so much. Thank you.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic. If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app.